How's everybody doing? What's going on? Welcome back. And this video, I want to talk about something very personal, something very, very important, something that, there's so many of us fans that when it comes to A Nightmare on Elm Street, more importantly, Fred Krueger himself, that it's Robert or nobody. Now, I want to talk about why I think there is somebody out there that can do justice to the character of Freddy Krueger. I remember like last year or something I talked about like what could have made the Elm Street remake from 2010 a little bit more effective, and that it really wasn't Jackie Earle Haley's performance as Freddy that makes that movie a shithole. It's everything surrounding it. Robert has stated over and over and over again for years that he has no gas left in the tank. He's too old. He doesn't got it anymore. And fans like us need to be willing to accept that. Now, I've been willing to accept that forever. I have no problem seeing what somebody else can bring to the table. And I didn't need Dylan's New Nightmare. I did not need the portrayal of Freddy Krueger by the great Dave Mcrae to sell me on that. But I saw it, and there is nobody on this earth that I would rather see don the glove than Dave Mcrae. Now, if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that Dave Mcrae is like my hero. I mean, I've been following him for about the last 10 years, and it's just the joy, the memories, the fun videos that guy has brought to YouTube over the last decade have just been insane when it comes to the David Gordon Green trilogy. That's really what launched him into superstardom. The Star Wars sequel trilogy, that's where I really first discovered him, with feedback on The Force Awakens and in preparation for The Last Jedi and then the announcement of Halloween 2018. Why Dave Mcrae is, in my opinion, the right man for the job is most importantly because he knows the character of Freddy in and out and what that character needs to be. What Fred Krueger needs to be at his absolute peak of scariness and effectiveness. Now, I've talked about, when you look at the Elm Street franchise, you look at, Friday the 13th, Elm Street 1 through 3, some great movies there. And then you look at 4, 5, and 6, and it's like the top of a roller coaster that just goes down. I can have fun with Elm Street 4. I just despise 5 and 6. Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 94, was a return to form. The character was there, the adaptation, the way Robert Englund readapted into that frightening figure again was very, very impressive. But we had Wes Craven steering the ship, so that's a big part of it. Now, excuse me. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm more of a fan of scary Freddy than funny Freddy. And so is Dave, and so are a lot of other horror fans out there. And there's nothing wrong if you prefer Elm Street 4, 5, and 6 compared to 1, 2, and 3, let's say. You know what I mean? If you love Freddy's Dead, who am I to tell you? Fuck off. I have no right to tell you that. It's totally cool. Like I said, I've been saying in countless videos over the years that it's totally cool to be the kind of fan that you want to be. But I personally think for an Elm Street adaptation to be successful in 2026, 2027, 2028, in the foreseeable future, that we got to go back to the roots of the character. We don't have Wes Craven to anchor this. I understand that. We don't have Robert. Who knows about Heather? I don't know. But if you have not seen Dylan's New Nightmare, you need to watch that fan film And you need to see the aneurysms and the character that Dave brings to Freddy Krueger. It's just, what's the right way to look at it? It's just special, and it shows that sadistic, spooky side to him again that you haven't seen since arguably 1985, because in Dream Warriors in 87, you started seeing the switch to more fun comedic Freddy. You know what I mean? That's when you really started to see it, and then it was full blast from 4 on. But I know that it's Robert or bust or whatever, but let's give it a chance. Like I said, I gave the Elm Street. Why do I keep screwing up? I gave Child's Play in 2019 a fair chance. I like that remake and reimagining. Why? Because I knew going into it, it wasn't Brad Dourif. It was a different story altogether. It was a reimagining of of Andy telling story, but he was a little older. The AI thing, it was a little different. So I didn't walk out of that movie butthurt. I accept it for what it is, and I can have a good time with it. And I know for a fact, whether it's Dave or not, I can have a good time with an Elm Street movie that Robert Englund does not don the glove if we have the right story and the right man directing it. Now, I've heard, rumblings over the last few weeks, different rights, 2 different movies, this, that, and the other thing. They're not going to make 2 movies. I can't see them really doing that, because that's just digging your own grave. But we've got to steer the ship and land the plane properly with a solid A Nightmare on Elm Street movie. And the casting of Freddy is the most important thing. And I know I just keep saying Dave. There is somebody else out there. We've had the opportunity to see what Dave can bring to the table. And all I can say is that it's an A+. It's perfection. I mean, he wouldn't say that. I say things like that because I adore him so much, because he's been such a big part of my life. But I mean, when it comes to the way that Freddy has to be effective, you gotta be reeled in by the character again. And having somebody like Dave who grew up with the character, knows the ins and outs of everything of him, it'll just make it that much better. You're not just getting an actor off the street. Like, if we need an unknown actor to play Freddy. Dave is not a huge Hollywood star. He's just your average everyday voice actor. He's the prime example of a not so well known actor who could come in and deliver a solid performance, and he'd be able to give the fans, a fan like me who's, I know I take it way too serious. I know I do. I'm psychotic. I get it. But a fan like me, or hopefully a lot of you out there, the rebirth of Freddy Krueger that we've been desperately waiting for since arguably 1987, 88. I mean, and like I said, it's not Robert's fault that the character went down the path it did. It was, it was the movie, it was the industry, it was the pop culture phenomenon that Fred Krueger became. I understand that, but that would be an incredible dream come true if Dave were to get a phone call from these guys and he was to get an audition as Freddy. I mean, I would drop my life in a second and do whatever the hell I could to make sure that happened. If by some chance Dave Mcrae was cast as Freddy Krueger, that movie would instantly be that would overthrow Power Rangers from 2017, Halloween 2018, The Force Awakens, you name it. That would overthrow everything combined as definitively the most anticipated movie of my entire life. No questions asked. I know it's slim to none. I know Dave knows that. I know a lot of you know that. But if you don't know who Dave Mcrae is, hop on over to his channel. Search Dave Mcrae on YouTube. Look it up and look up Dave Mcrae Elm Street. See what he has to say about it. There's plenty of standalone videos that have to do with his views on the franchise and what he would have done and what what he wouldn't have done. There's tons of live streams in regards to different aspects of the franchise, and watch Dylan's new nightmare. It's just, I'm telling you, if you don't judge him unless you know, don't just say, no, Robert or nothing. Give it a chance. And like I said, I'm open to anybody out there. My number one pick would be Dave. So like I said, I don't want to ramble on forever. And Dave, I know Dave's never going to watch this. I mean, it would be amazing if he did. I know every now and again, Nick Push will tune into a video, or Davey Deathray has watched a few of my videos from time to time. And I know that Davey Deathray, just like me, is a huge follower of Dave Mcrae, and he was a huge inspiration to the channel that he started a few years back, and it's awesome. And I'm pretty sure Dave Deathray would feel the same way. He'd say a lot of the same things for a lot of the same reasons. I don't want to get too emotional and too caught up in it. I'm really doing this in the spur of the moment, and I just think it would be, I think it would be a fair gamble, a good idea, a safe chance to take. If you don't feel that way, oh well, but I just, we need to accept the fact that if Elm Street is to continue, Robert is not going to continue. And we're not talking about Heather in this video. We're not talking about Nancy. We're talking about strictly Freddy Krueger. And we need to accept the fact that Robert Englund is not coming back. And it's something else or nothing. So if you are a true lifer, true diehard, hardcore Elm Street fan, you've got to be willing to accept something else. And like I said, I am, and I have been basically from forever. Because, by the time I got old enough to really appreciate it and understand it all, it was already too late. Freddy versus Jason to come out, and, definitely a better portrayal than 5 and 6, in my opinion, and this and that and everything else. But, it's too late, and it's time to move on. And my absolute number one draft pick would be Dave Mcrae. So until next time, you guys take it easy. Let me know down in the comments below what you want to see in an Elm Street movie, who you'd like to see play Freddy Krueger. As you see, I didn't mention any of those names that we've heard over and over and over again, because this movie was strictly to Dave Mcrae. So until next time, you guys take it easy. We'll see you down in the comments below. Peace out.